everybody. Welcome to Wednesday. This is the Broward Center Broadway Chat Series. My name is Tammy Holder, and I am so thrilled that you are joining us tonight. With me tonight is the fabulous Tim.
Hello. Welcome.
All right, Tim. So last week we had an amazing show. We had some fun guests from Fun Home. So we were so happy to have those guys with us last week.
We were, and if any of you out there missed it and you'd be interested in seeing that, we actually have that saved on our Facebook page. So go check out that chat with our Fun Home guests last week.
All right, so
what do we have this
week? Amazing guest for you tonight. This is the incomparable, the amazing Tony Award nominee for her fabulous role as Disco Donna in Summer, the disco musical. We have Ariana DeBose with us tonight.
That is very exciting, and I'm sure all of you are very excited to listen to this. And I just want to remind all of our viewers that if you have a question, please put it in the comments, and we will get to some viewer questions later on in the show.
All right, it's time to bring one of my favorite people on the planet into the room. Ladies and gentlemen, some big love for Ariana DeBose.
Hello.
Hi, guys. How are you?
We're great. Ariana, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. I was so thrilled when you asked me to be here.
Yay. So we're just going to chat a little bit tonight about all things Broadway, a topic that you are quite familiar with, I'm sure. So what I want to do is kind of start with where you are now and work our way backwards. And then at the end, we'll see if we have any questions from our audience. So what you been up to?
Well, before all of this lovely quarantine realness happened, I was working on the Prom movie for Ryan Murphy, which will be coming to hopefully this holiday season on Netflix.
Cool.
And then before that, I was working on the new West Side Story, directed by Steven Spielberg. I'm really chill about that one, since absolutely nobody ever. But I'm playing Anita, which is the role that Rita Moreno won an Oscar for.
Yes.
So some very big shoes to fill, but that's what I've been doing for the last 9 months-ish. And then,
oh, wow, that long.
Yeah, it really feels like that. Yeah. Weird.
That's amazing. Well, we're so excited. Right now, I know it's subject to change. When are those films slated to come out? Can you tell us that?
It looks like West Side will be coming out to the world on Steven's birthday, December 18th, 2020. With any luck, we'll keep that date. And then the Prom doesn't have an official date, from what I'm told, but Ryan is very hopeful that it will be ready for the world during the holiday season. So I think the holidays could be very busy for me, which I will be very grateful for. What blessings! Hello.
I tell you, it's amazing. So in talking about the films, we'll talk a little bit about your amazing Broadway career. What's been some of the challenges and some of the exciting things transferring from performing live on the Broadway to doing your craft in film?
Oh, that's a really good question, Tammy.
Thank you.
Definitely don't start small, do you? It was interesting. I had gotten to a place, which I do this frequently throughout my journey. I decide to change my goals. It's how I keep myself on my toes. And halfway through my run in Donna Summer, the Donna Summer musical, I decided I wanted to try and go for bigger roles in film and TV. So I had started training and watching different films and just researching styles, right? Because I think that if you really want to work in something, you have to know it. You have to know the business that you want to work in. So what I had noticed is, a lot of acting coaches will tell you that working on film is smaller. In the theater, we're told to be big and, reach to the back of the room type of thing. And to a point, it is true. It is smaller. But the challenge for me in all of that was to still remember that the world that we create for ourselves in our theatrical work, it still lives inside of you
Mm.
when you're working on camera. So none of it goes away. You just feel it differently. So that was my big kind of realization throughout working on the films and getting adjusted to being on set and things like that. Yeah.
Right, very cool. So you mentioned Summer, the Donna Summer musical.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit. Wait, in your honor, you played. Who did you play?
I played Disco Donna Summer. Oh, hey.
Disco Donna Summer. Pew, pew. Oh.
Studio 54 realness.
Tell us about that role and tell us about being nominated for a Tony Award.
Oh, it was great. It was so wonderful. It was one of the first lead roles, like a true leading role that I ever got to create, kind of like from start to finish. So it was so fun because, you know, I got to bring a different side of Disco Donna, because the world knows Donna Summer for her voice,
Right.
right? You know, Donna Summer wasn't a dancer, but for storytelling purposes, I got to use my strength to help storytell in our show. And I loved that because I thought it was kind of, you know, just felt really appropriate to be able to embrace all of what the genre brought, because disco music is like everything, right? Like I feel love, but and it's a sound that made people want to dance. So to know that I got to bring my strong suit to the table was really cool. And then I also had to, you know, reinvest in my voice and grow even more confident because I've been singing in the ensemble for a while.
Right.
So there was that element to it, and then just really like challenging myself as an actor because the scenes move so quickly. It's like I would almost say it's like you feel a little bit like a crazy person. You're feeling so many things at once.
Mm-hmm.
And then going through the whirlwind that is opening your show, running your show, and then being all of a sudden nominated for a Tony. Like I think that happened for me in the span of like 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
It was crazy. And this is the nuttiest story. I had sprained my ankle really badly the weekend, like right before the Tony nom. So the Tony nominations come out on a Tuesday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Over the weekend, I had sprained my ankle Saturday night. We had an emergency an emergency like rehearsal because my understudy was also injured, so she couldn't go on for me.
Oh no!
Yeah, it was crazy. So we had this emergency rehearsal to figure out how I was going to be able to do the show with a bum foot and a cane.
Yes.
I was on Broadway with a cane. And then after that Sunday matinee happened, which I don't know how I got through it, but somehow I did. I did hot stuff with a cane. Turned stones with a cane, all with a cane. Worked hard for my money with a cane. After that, I went and I recorded our cast album. So I did that evening, and then went back, recorded all day Monday, and then the next day I was a Tony nominee.
No way.
Crazy, right?
Crazy. That's amazing. Rock star.
What was it like for you building a character based off of a real life person? What was that process like for you?
That's another good question. It was really, I won't say that it was hard. Challenging is a good word, because I think my approach to it was not to impersonate her. I didn't think that did any service to her memory. So I made my goal to find her essence, like what made her tick, what kept her going. You know, she was a very determined person, and she had to overcome a lot of adversity. And it was a time where you saw women put down, you know, especially in the music industry. It's like they didn't have a lot of control over their music. So I tried to find ways that I felt like we were aligned, or experiences I had had that were similar, and that helped me find my way into understanding why she made some of the choices she made. And it's hard because when someone is also so iconic, because she was iconic, everybody has a feeling or an opinion, and she was so beloved. So the fans have a beautiful, beautiful memory of her and what she meant to them, but also their overall idea of who she was. So it is challenging to play a real person because you have to respect the memories that other people hold whilst telling your version of the story.
Right. So I got to see the show and it was amazing. You were so amazing. But it was a big old dance party. Did that happen every night at the end of the show? Everybody up off their feet dancing. Like you said, it's that music that just triggers a memory of, especially people who grew up with that. But what was it like every night? Just, the electricity in the crowd.
Oh, it was like being the star of your own rock concert or your own disco concert. And they really did get up and dance in the aisles and in their seats like that every night. There was not a night where people weren't dancing in their seats. It was one of the most beautiful things I think that came out of it, is that I got to see so many people dance and enjoy themselves. Very fond memories to have right now.
Yes, definitely. Right. Well, so let's go back a little bit more in time. So there was a little skit that you were in called Hamilton, I think it is. Hamilton.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. You were with that from day one, yeah?
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to participate in some early readings, and I also was in the developmental workshop of it that led to the off-Broadway production at the incredible Public Theater. And then I transferred with it to Broadway as well. And I left the theater the same night that Lynn, Leslie, and Philippa also took their final bow. So it felt appropriate.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it was totally nutty.
That's wild. Now tell us about the part you played. It became, I think, I don't know that if your role started out the way it ended up. Tell everybody about what you played and how it grew through the course of the run.
Yeah, so I was an ensemble player, and initially when we were first creating it, we all had special step out moments, and every single person in the ensemble still maintains different ensemble moments throughout the show, even in what we see today. But eventually, Andy came to me, Andy Blankenbuehler, choreographer of Hamilton, came to me and he said, "You're going to play the bullet." And I was like, "What does that mean?" And he said, "You're going to trace the bullet that, kills Alexander Hamilton." Spoiler alert. And from there, it just sort of grew. He kind of let me run wild with it, which I don't know if he was very thrilled with that choice, but I had fun. And it grew into this really fun, interesting, sort of Pippin-esque circus player thing, because it's that idea that every ensemble member is so integral to the plot that we're almost manipulating the characters. As if we don't keep them on track, then the story won't come to its finish. And so I got to really play with those ideas, and I thought of myself as this interesting, like, spirit angel, that was kind of all knowing, and really you might not have seen her, you might not have heard her talk, but you always felt her presence, so that when you got to that final moment, it was like, oh my gosh, of course she's the bullet. What? You know what I mean?
Right?
Yeah, it was a really fun challenge.
And so what was it like?
Oh, go ahead, Tim.
I'm just probably the same question you have, Tammy, just thinking about the size and the scope of what Hamilton became.
Yeah.
And on that it was. What was it like to be a part of that? And why do you think it really struck a nerve with so many people and became so popular?
Yeah, great question. It was, I was talking about this earlier today. I very shortly before Hamilton came my way, and I was doing Motown at the time. when it first came my way. I had written down on like a little manifestation sheet that I wanted to be a part of something bigger than myself, something that, you know, changed the way we think about the world, about theater, about politics. I wanted to be a part of something that felt that, you know, magnificent. And then Hamilton arrived.
Well, there it is.
So number one, I was like, well, that was quick. And I certainly didn't see it in that form, you know. So then to watch how, you know, my mom's a history teacher. She uses Hamilton to teach history. She's 8th grade social studies. So knowing that I was part of making something that my mom uses to teach another generation is mind-blowing to me. And then just seeing how it affected people of all ages. You know, this is not a piece written for one generation. It's written for all generations and people of all different backgrounds that's reflected in how the show's cast as well, because it's not just about one type of American, it's about all Americans.
Right.
And I think that's why people really resonate with it, because we may not look the same as our founding fathers did. You know, we don't have cute white wigs and weird teeth. Well, hopefully. But like, you know, we've evolved, we've changed, we're more diverse than I think our founding fathers ever imagined.
Right.
And to know that these people, because when you look at Hamilton, it's like you're really looking at people trying to create a better life for themselves, right?
Yeah, definitely.
We're still doing that. That's all anybody wants. And I think that's sort of why people really connect with it.
And while we're on the subject of Hamilton, we actually have our first audience question here. So what is your favorite song, dance, or moment from the show?
You know, I really loved dancing Satisfied every night. It was awesome because I like telling stories from different perspectives, right? And so to see, you know, Eliza's perspective and Helpless, and then to turn around and allow Angelica to tell the exact same story, but just from seeing it from a different angle, and how the dance steps were reflected in that. They're the same steps, but they're danced with different intent. That was my favorite moment every night. It also allowed me to not have to think too much.
Nice. I love it. Well, so let's keep going on your timeline a little bit. So what was your first? Talk to me about the early years on the Broadway.
Oh, man. Well, my Broadway debut was Bring It On the Musical.
How was that?
Terrifying. You know, that show, I think, was so ahead of its time. It's so underrated. I think if you go back and you listen to that past album, you will be so surprised at what a jam the whole thing is. Like, it's just good pop music. And also to be able to bring, you know, the aspect of cheerleading to Broadway, because it hadn't been done before, that was really exciting, because it's a physical feat. Mm-hmm. Bodies in the air safely 8 times a week. You know, like we watched the Cheer documentary on Netflix, right? You know, they talk about all of the work that is put into training to be able to execute these numbers at nationals. You know what I mean? They're working towards that one thing. And in my experience with the show, it's like we were doing that. We were feeling some of almost all of those emotions that they're talking about, but we had to regurgitate it 8 times a week.
Wow.
So and as a newcomer to Broadway, it's like I was learning so much so fast and adjusting to a completely new atmosphere, and realizing that I'm finally in New York City, you know, and meeting some of the people that I've admired, you know, forever, and realizing that they're now colleagues in a way. You can walk down the street in New York City, you are a working actor, and I don't know, BB Newirth will be like, Ariana DeBose, I loved you, and bring it on. Like,
right.
craziest thing. So it was culture shock, but really amazing.
So after Bring It On was Pippin.
Motown.
Which one? Motown. Motown came next. Okay. Tell me about Motown.
Well, it was polar opposite from Bring It On.
Right.
1960s musical, period clothing, big wigs, high heels. And I was playing Mary Wilson of the Supremes, and I was the onstage cover for Diana Ross, so another icon.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when I got my first taste of really leading a company in a dire moment, and that it really put me through my paces. I was one of the youngest in the company.
Okay.
At the time, I was 21 or 22 years old, and I definitely dealt with a little bit of, I don't know how you want to say it. Even now looking back on it, I think they could have chosen to hire someone else with a little more experience, but somehow I earned the job.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when you're young and you're learning on the job, because I was, and I'm very quick study, you have to learn to deal with, work environment attitude as well. Because
Right.
not everybody's gonna think that you're doing the best job. Sometimes people think that they could do the job better, and so that was a huge learning experience for me in how to be a productive member of a company, right? So it was tough at times because I'm from North Carolina. I'm a very friendly person. We are, hospitable. We like to be liked. So coming into an environment where you might have met a barrier, not all the time, because it was a great work environment, but every once in a while to be challenged in a way when you think that you're doing your best job. That's not actually someone being mean. It's someone trying to stretch you, right? And ask you to consider, like, maybe there's a different way to do this.
Right.
Maybe your way isn't the best way. Or maybe that's not what someone was asking of you, right? I think you learn as you grow that there are different ways to communicate with each other. But, yeah.
So that's neat. I love how, and I have been honored to be part of your journey, like to follow your amazing career. Let's dial it back a little farther. You mentioned North Carolina. So tell us a little bit about how it all started. And, I know that your background and first love was dance. So just tell us a little bit about how it started and evolved into you ending up in New York on Broadway.
Yeah, well, I started dancing at the age of 3, ballet tap, jazz, daisy, realness. And I trained very seriously, and I believed with my whole heart that I was going to be Madonna's backup dancer. That's what it was. And then my mom said, I think you should try theater. And she kept pressing me. She's like, no, let's consider it. And she had taken me to see a Broadway show, Aida, on Broadway. And I was like, oh, wow, there are dancers in the show. Oh, okay. They don't do that much singing. Okay. And I remember at the time when he came out the Palace Theater, there was this big billboard of Judy Newirth, who I recognized as Lilith from Frasier.
Right.
I was a Frasier kid. I know, weird.
No, I love it.
But I was like, oh my gosh, she must be in a show. She was starring as Donna in Chicago. So I was making that connection. That do a lot of different things. And then a couple years later, my mom saw an audition flyer for Wake County Public Schools production with Broadway Series South of Aida.
Okay.
She convinced me that it would be a good idea to go and audition. She was like, remember there was those 3 dancers? You could get one of those kids and learn something new. And that is when I met the lovely Tammy Holder and the brilliant Eric Scotto, who is in production, and Liz Grimes-Guzzler, who was our producer. And somehow, by, I don't know, y'all's crazy whim, you cast me as Aida.
Yes.
And I didn't know what I was doing, but you did hold my hand through it, and it changed my life. And that's when I decided to pursue theater instead.
Yay. I'm so glad you did.
Me too. Me too.
So we have another audience question here. Amazing story. What is your source of motivation? And other people are asking questions about motivation as well, like how you keep motivated when you're not necessarily feeling inspired or maybe feeling a little bit out of it. So big picture motivation and in the moment motivation.
Yeah. I mean, it's a struggle. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes it's really hard. You know, I'm a woman of color. I'm an out queer actor. You know, and I'm a lot of people like to look at me as a dancer first, and I'm constantly trying to change people's minds about me, or just trying to get them to open their minds, which can be hard. So you do get down, but I think I draw inspiration from my industry, especially now because there's so much great content and so many new stories being told. Um, you know, Strange Loop just won a Pulitzer Prize. You know, uh, and that's a great off Broadway piece that was about people of color. You know, so it's like where you're seeing little margins of movement happening. That's inspiring to me. You're seeing Kerry Washington partner with Reese Witherspoon and great content like Little Fires Everywhere that's asking questions and asking people to open their minds. You know, there's just really cool things happening. So it's like I'm watching people I look up to accomplish things. And it's not, they're not accomplishing them overnight, but they're getting it done. And I believe if they can do it, then I must be able to do it. And I don't believe in giving up on myself prematurely. I mean, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I almost didn't audition for a West Side Story because I was scared of it.
Right.
I am half Puerto Rican, and there'll be a lot more about that in the world later. But it's I didn't grow up with my dad. I grew up with my mom. So, and my mom's white. So I always created those questions of like, are you adopted? No. So it's hard sometimes when you're constantly trying to find your place in the world and identify yourself for you, but the world likes to try and tell you who you are, what you want to be, right? Or what you should be. So I draw inspiration from the people who are trying to define themselves in their own terms. You know, and I mentioned Carrie and Reese specifically because they're actively trying to redefine how the industry, specifically the film industry, tells stories and how women are received and et cetera, et cetera. But it is hard. That was a really long answer. I apologize.
No.
It's true.
That was a great answer. And that's something I've always admired about you is that you use your voice to entertain and use your gifts to entertain, but you also you are a source of motivation and inspiration just in how you stand in your truth. And I've always admired that about you. So I am grateful for you in so many ways. So we're running out of time. I wanted to make sure that I had an opportunity to ask you to share some advice. That was just some good advice that you gave. But I work with a lot of really talented kids, and they all want to make it on the Broadway, and they all want to have a career as a performer. What's some really good advice that you could share with these budding performers?
You know, the best bit of advice I ever got was listen and then respond. Yeah, you know, it's theater where it's an industry about people, right? So learn what it is to be human. Don't just sit in theater. Go ride a bike. You know, like play games, talk to your neighbors, like learn what it is to be human, because then the characters you create will be fuller, richer, bolder, stronger. You'll make more of an impact if you bring your humanity to your work.
I love it. That's so amazing. Thank you so much. We didn't have time for a lot of questions because our chat was so interesting. Thank you.
God, I talk too much.
No, you don't. You say a lot of wonderful, beautiful things. So thank you so much. I'm so proud of you. And I just applaud all your work. And I just look so forward to all the greatness and beauty and joy that you're going to continue to put out into this world. We need you.
Thank you. I love you so much, Tammy. And it's always an honor. You've been there from day one. And Tim, my friend, so good to meet you. You're
Meeting you too.
All right. So everybody give Ariana a big, fabulous farewell. Mwah! Tim, she was awesome.
Oh, that was so inspiring. That was so great.
She's very cool. So, well, what do we have coming up next week?
Next week, I'm very excited to announce that we will be joined by the incredible Jelani Remy, who is currently playing the role of Eddie Kendricks in Ain't Too Proud on Broadway and formerly starred as Simba in The Lion King. So he's going to join us next week, same time, same place, Wednesday, 7 p.m. So make sure to tune in live next week to meet Jelani and chat with him.
That's so cool. Thank you. So I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. We're really, our Broadway Chats, a special shout out to our colleague at the Broward Center, Michael Yu, for creating our snazzy intro and outro. And then the fabulous Richard Zendarski, he creates our cool logos. So thank you to those guys and our whole team at the Broward Center for helping us put these together. So we appreciate all the work that it takes to make these possible. So I would just really want to do a big shout out to them.
Yes, and also thank you to all of you for watching. We couldn't do this without you watching and commenting, so we really appreciate that. To all the fans and supporters of the Broward Center, and a very special thanks to Bank of America for their support of Broadway at the Broward Center all season long. We couldn't do it without all of you, and we love you all.
All right. Thank you all. We'll see you all next week, Wednesday, 7 o'clock. Bye.
Bye.